Okay. Yeah. So yesterday I explained to you that some of the erythrocytic cryptozoites are merozoites. So not all, some of the erythrocytic merozoites, they are transformed into, gametes or gametocytes, not gametes, gametocytes. There are two kinds of gametocytes which ultimately produce the gametes. One is microgamete, so which is smaller in size when compared with the megagametocyte, microgametocyte and megagametocyte. So these two, they cannot withstand the conditions of the human internal environment. So they will not further develop in the human being. They wander in the blood vessels through the blood flow. So now, whenever female Anopheles mosquito, whenever female Anopheles mosquito bites such human being having these gametocytes, both micro and macro, you can also call it as macro gametocyte. So these will reach to the gut or intestine of the, you know, uh, the mosquito. Okay. So now the various developments or changes that occurred in the gut of the mosquito or female Anopheles mosquito gut or intestine, uh, that is constitute the sexual reproduction or life cycle of the plasmodium or malarial parasite in mosquito. So you can also call it as cycle of Ross or Ross cycle. You can also call it as sexual reproduction. So as this sexual reproduction occurs in mosquito, so mosquito is considered as the main host or primary host. Here, if you observe, so when a mosquito bites the infected person having these gametocytes, they reach the particularly the intestine of the what we call the uh, mosquito. In the gut of the mosquito, so they undergo some changes, some physical changes and physiological changes. Okay, so here, if you observe this microgametocyte, so its nucleus is divided into almost 8 to 10 nuclei by mitotic division. And here, about almost 8 to 10 flagella-like structures are formed, and each nucleus enters into a flagella-like structure. And then each flagella with some amount of cytoplasm that is detached from this microgametocyte by a process called exflagellation. So in that way, from a single microgametocyte, almost 8 to 10 male gametes are produced, okay, by a process called exflagellation. Whereas in megagametocyte, which is female in nature, okay, its structure is slightly bigger than the microgametocyte, but its nucleus size is smaller. In the beginning, it increases slightly in the size, and then a reception cone-like structure is a protuberance-like structure called cone of reception. A reception cone is formed one side of the this megagametocyte or female gametocyte. Now you can consider this as a female gamete. So in the gut of the mosquito, so the fertilization takes place between the male gamete and this female gamete. So the male gamete enters through this cone of reception, and a diploid zygote is formed. Then I'm just explaining the diagram outline. So I'll again we will go to each and every point in detail. Just you should follow the diagram very keenly. If you understand the diagram, then it is easy to remember the concept. Okay. So anyway, the fertilization is occurred. Then it's the zygote shape is changed. It becomes elongated, and it squeezes itself into the through the gut wall of the intestine of the mosquito, and it comes out below the basal membrane of the gut wall. Okay, it uh, prepares, it makes a cyst surrounding this uh, zygote. So this elongated form of the zygote is called ookinete. Okay. So now the ookinete with a cyst wall is called oocyst. Sir Ronald Ross. Anyway, now what happens here again in the zygote? The first meiosis and then mitosis occurs. Many smaller nuclei are produced, and each nuclei acquires some amount of cytoplasm, and many smaller sporozoites are formed. So this part was actually identified or discovered by the Sir Ronald Ross when he was working for the British in the Secunderabad cantonment area. So these are the oocysts which are present on the wall of the gut of the Anopheles mosquito. Okay, so now the mature sporozoites, there whenever it is the cyst wall is filled with the mature sporozoites, the cyst wall is broken. Okay, so to release in the body cavity of the what we call the mosquito, all these sporozoites, which is the infective stage. The sporozoites are infective stage to human being. So these sporozoites will reach to the salivary glands. Okay, when the mosquito bites a normal or any human being, these sporozoites reach to the blood of that human being. So this is briefly, roughly, I just explained you the diagram for your understanding. So this is sexual reproduction, because here the fertilization is taking place between two gametes. Anyway, so now, yeah, so the formation of gametes, here there are 2-3 terms are there. The formation of gametes is called gametogamy. Okay, the formation of these spore-like structures, the sporozoites, is called sporogamy. You remember that? Anyway, yeah, in mosquito stomach, formation of gametes from gametocytes is called gametogamy. When a mosquito bites an infected man, all merozoites, including gametocytes, are also enter mosquito gut. Only gametocytes survive. అంటే మనకి ఇక్కడ బ్లడ్ లో ఉండేటువంటి ఈ క్రిప్టోమీరోజైట్స్ కానీ, మెటాక్రిప్టోమీరోజైట్స్, మైక్రో అండ్ మాక్రో మీరోజైట్స్ కానీ, ఈ యొక్క గ్యామెటోసైట్స్ ఇవన్నీ కూడా they reach the gut of the or stomach of the mosquito, but only the gametocytes can withstand the pH, temperature, or whatever the internal environment of the gut. So only the gametocytes survive in the mosquito gut. Now, formation of male gametes, I have explained. Microgametocyte nucleus divides 2 to 3 times. Each attains some, yeah, to form almost, sorry, to form what we call 8 to 10 nuclei or daughter nuclei. Okay, each attains some, each nucleus. Okay, out of these 8 or 10 nucleus, each nucleus acquires or attains, grabs some amount of cytoplasm. Okay, and then flagella-like structures are formed from the periphery of the micro gametocyte. So each nucleus enters into each flagella-like structure. Then, yeah, so by a process called exflagellation. Okay, so the male gametes are released from the micro gametocyte. Okay, so they show lashing movements in the gut. They move by a process called lashing movement. Okay, so that is about the formation of male gametes. And what happens to the female gametocyte? Female gametocyte's nucleus divides into two, sorry. Okay, so one becomes polar body. Okay, so another one, a normal nucleus. Now it is considered as female gamete. So yeah, so now it acquires a reception cone or fertilization cone. You can also call it as fertilization cone or reception cone. Sorry. Right. So the male gamete enters female gamete at fertilization cone or reception cone to produce, to form zygote. So it is, this kind of fertilization is called anisogamy because both the gametes are not similar in size and shape. So such kind of fertilization is called anisogamy. You remember this. And then ookinetes, I have told you. So the zygote becomes elongated, that is called ookinete, and it is movable. Zygote becomes slender, actively moves, called ookinete. It pierces stomach wall and settles at outside layer of stomach. So it prepares a thin sac around itself. Okay, now it is called oocyst. You can also call it as sporant. You remember this term. Okay, so ఊక అనేది తన చుట్టూ ఒక సిస్ట్ వాల్ని ప్రిపేర్ చేస్తుంది. ఈ సిస్ట్ వాల్ ఉన్నటువంటి ఆ సిస్ట్ లోపల ఉన్నటువంటి ఆ స్టేజ్ ని మనం oocyst ఆర్ స్పోరాట్ అని అంటాం. Okay, it feeds on stomach wall cells. It increases in size up to 50 to so in general, during this kind of infection to the mosquito, about fifth on the wall of the stomach or gut of the Anopheles mosquito, about 50 to 500 such cysts are produced. Now, so anyway, here when it is called sporoblast, actually is the nucleus is divided and each daughter nucleus acquires some amount of cytoplasm. Now it is called sporoblast actually. And then, yeah, sporogamy. Sporoblast first undergoes meiotic division. I told you, sporoblast, just wait. In the sporoblast, the nucleus, the nucleus undergoes, sorry, the nucleus first undergoes meiotic division because So now the diploid nucleus is present. Okay. So here in general during gametogenesis the meiotic division is occurred, but here in the zygote the meiotic division is occurred, and later they are divided mitotically. So many nuclei are formed. Each nucleus acquires some amount of cytoplasm, okay, to form many sporozoites. Now, the stage with sporozoites is called sporocyst, and then it is lysed or broken. Okay, many sporozoites released into blood of mosquito, and they reach mosquito salivary glands. Okay, this whole process is called sporogony. So you should remember it was asked in many exam many times. So what is the infective stage of Plasmodium to the man? Sporozoites are the infective stages to the human being. Okay, so when such mosquito bites a man, sporozoites enter into man blood and it will continue asexual reproduction. And now, so what are the symptoms of malaria? Okay, in general, I told you there are four different kinds of malarial parasites are present, malarial plasmodium species are there. So among them, the most common one is Plasmodium vivax. It causes benign tertian malaria. It causes benign tertian malaria. Okay. So when actually it doesn't work properly, mm, after 2 3 days, I will bring slate. Anyway, you adjust 2 3 days. Right. Here in the RBC of human being, okay. So when during erythrocytic life cycle, the hemoglobin is broken down into heme and globin. Globin is eaten by the parasite, and the heme is slightly, its structure is changed to form hemozyme. So these are the hemozyme, if you assume. Okay, when this, when this RBC is cell membrane is lysed or broken, okay, these hemozyme granules, they are released into the blood plasma or blood. When these hemozyme granules are released into the blood, okay, so released into the blood, then the chilling fever or malarial fever is caused or occurred. Anyway, so prior to fever, so 3 days headache, muscle pain, lack of appetite. Okay, so these are the major prior symptoms. Okay, so this fever, whenever this fever is caused or occurred, okay, it is repeated for every 2 days or 48 hours, and fever is very very high. Okay, so it is chilling fever occurs. Okay, so after 6 to 10 hours of fever, okay, so the fever will be reduced and the sweating occurs. Okay, and due to the malaria the person becomes very weak. So these are the commonly used drugs to for the cure of the malaria. So like quinine, chloroquine, primaquine, polutrin. So what are the precautions we should take? Okay, so we should keep surroundings very clean, and we should use anti-mosquito sprays, and we should use some creams like Odomus. We should apply to our skin, or we should use mosquito nets and coils. And also in stagnant, water, where the water is stagnant on the road or in the what we call the drainage areas. So we should grow larvivorous fishes. Okay, so like what are those larvivorous fishes? You remember these are the important names. Okay, so Gambusia affinis and Lebestis fish. So these two are the larvivorous fish. What they do, they consume, they eat the mosquito larvae so that the larva will not become adult. So mosquito population is reduced. And also we can grow utricularia like plants, which is a which is an insecti plant. So it also consumes or eats the mosquito larvae. So these are the some precautions. You remember the Gambusia fish and Lebestis fish, and you remember utricularia. So and you remember whenever I highlighted any word, okay, so that means that is important for the examinations. You should concentrate on that point, that particular point. Okay. Anyway, so this is actually not needed for you. This was prepared for the junior lecturer aspirants actually. So anyway, here various features of different kinds of malarial parasites are given: Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium falciparum. You remember this Plasmodium falciparum in African countries, it exists and it is very, very fatal malaria caused by this Plasmodium falciparum. This is most dangerous. Sometimes death may occur due to the Plasmodium falciparum causing malaria. And just wait. Yeah. So you remember these names. Plasmodium vivax causes simple malaria or benign malaria. Plasmodium ovale causes ovale tertian malaria. Okay. So or you can also call it as mild tertian malaria. And Plasmodium malariae causes quartan malaria. Okay, and Plasmodium falciparum causes malignant malaria. You remember these four, names. I'll upload the video into the YouTube. I'll give you the video link. Okay, while preparing, you remember these names. And also, this is also important. The fever occurs in Plasmodium malaria. The relapsing fever, that means the repeating fever, occurs for every 3 days, whereas in the remaining three, so almost 2 days once. And in Plasmodium malaria, instead of Schaffner dots, there are Zeeman dots. In Plasmodium falciparum, uh, it causes or it produces Morris dots in RBCs of human being. Okay, so you remember these three are the important points in the comparison of these four, species. Anyway, so yeah, this is about the type study, which we have studied complete biology of the plasmodium. Whereas we have the in our syllabus, in M.Sc. Zoology entrance examination syllabus, they have given simply as, protozoan parasites. That's all. So here I have given some important protozoan parasites and their pathogenicity and their treatment or their drugs used for their disease cure. Okay, anyway. Now Entavistoletica. So we all know that. So it is also protozoan parasite, and it infects, it resides in human large intestine. So here, as it is a kind of amoeba with a single pseudopodium, okay, and why the specific name is histolytica? It secretes uh, histolysin, an enzyme that dissolves the tissue of the large intestine in human being and causes ulcers. So that's why the name diabetes. So anyway, let's complete these parasites very quickly today. So Entavistolytica was first discovered by Lambel, and Losch explained about its morphology and its life cycle. And there are three common species of Entavistolytica. One is Entavistolytica, which is very harmful one. Okay, and Entavistolytica gingivalis, which is a mouth parasite. Okay, so only two species. Okay, so what is Entavistolytica? It is a cosmopolitan. That means almost all countries are suffering with this Entavistolytica. Sorry, mostly in tropical and unhygienic countries. This is very prevalent in tropical and unhygienic countries. Anyway, so as usual, as it is a protozoan, it is a unicellular parasite or organism, no need. So this is important, you should remember where it resides. Entavistolytica, it lives as an endoparasite, or you can also call it as histozoite. That means it lives within the tissue. Okay, histozoic parasite in mucosal and submucosal layers of large intestine. So generally, four layers are present in the wall of the intestine. After excluding basal membrane కాకుండా 4 layers ఉంటాయి అందులో. సో మ్యూకోజల్ సబ్ మ్యూకోజల్ లేయర్ ఏరియా లోపల మనకి ఈ యొక్క ఎంటైమ్ అనేది ఇట్ లీవ్స్ ఆర్ ఇట్ రిసైడ్స్ యాజ్ అన్ ఎండో పారాసైట్ ఆర్ స్టోజైక్ పారాసైట్. Okay, so it secretes, I told you already, this is important, histolysin, an enzyme, okay, and damages the intestinal wall. So the name, specific name, histolytica is given. And what it causes? It causes amoebiasis disease. Okay, that is a small introduction. And it almost resembles amoeba, except it contains a single pseudopod. Amoeba lo, there are so many pseudopodia are present, whereas in entamoeba only single pseudopodium is present. That's why such condition is called monopodial condition. And anyway, it lacks a contractile vacuole. It lacks a contractile vacuole because in amoeba, the contractile vacuole is present. But here, it doesn't contain contractile vacuole and it contains single pseudopodium. That is these two are the differences. And also there are some more differences, but you remember these two. And of course, the body is surrounded by the plasma lemma. Okay, so cytoplasm is divided into outer ectoplasm, which is clear and thicker, so without any granules, and inner endoplasm with granules, which is, so thinner than the ectoplasm. Yeah, so center of the cell possesses nucleus with endosome. Nucleus looks like cartwheel shape. So you remember this, which parasite or which animal contains cartwheel shaped
फ्रेंड्स से वो
cartwheel-
ग्रुप में मार्क किया जाएगा हमारे कॉलेज में ग्रुप में बैच
who is that? Anyway, so cartwheel shaped nucleus is present, right? So then, sorry, yeah, here we are. So that is important feature of the antibiotic. You should remember this part. Nucleus is cartwheel shaped, and in the cytoplasm, food vacuoles are present, having human RBCs and bacteria are present. ఒకసారి చూస్తాను ఇమేజ్ చూడండి. So these are the food vacuoles with RBCs. Okay, or in the food vacuoles, the bacteria may also present. Okay, so some free bacteria also seen because it consumes large intestinal bacteria, and also due to ulcers, the blood vessels are exposed, so it also eats upon the RBCs. So that is also important. And yeah, nutrition is holozoic nutrition not needed. The respiration, anaerobic respiration not needed. Yeah, reproduction is simply by binary fission. It undergoes. You remember this stage in the life cycle. We don't have life cycle. We don't need to study the life cycle here as per the syllabus. This is called quadrinucleate. One, two, three, four. Four nuclei are present, and these are called chromatoid bodies, which are also present in the adult entaeba. So chromatoid bodies, sticks like chromatoid bodies are present, and four nuclei are present. Okay. Anyway, this stage is an infective stage to human being, from one human to another human being. Okay. Anyway, that occurs through contamination process. Yeah. Entaibiostolytica is a monogenetic parasite. That means it completes its life cycle in a single host. That is human being. Man is the host, single host. Anyway, there are two kinds of stages are present. One is trophozoite stage. This is trophozoite stage, and these are the precystic form or minuta forms. Okay, so there are two forms. You remember those two forms. Anyway, what is the pathogenesis? It causes ulcers and tumors in large intestine. Okay, due to that, slimy or gum-like blood motion occurs, that is called amoebic dysentery. ఓకే, తెలుగులో జిగట విరేచనాలు అంటాం. సో అమీబిక్ dysentery is the main patho pathogenic condition caused by the enterobistolytica. These forms may reach liver, lungs, and brain and forms lesions and tumors. ఓకే, ఒక్కొక్కసారి ఏమవుతుందంటే, సో దే మే రీచ్ లివర్, లంగ్స్, బ్రెయిన్, అండ్ దే మే ఫార్మ్ benign tumors in or lesions in these organs. Anyway, so what are the drugs for the cure of these amoebiasis? So this is also known as amoebiasis. So remember. So yeah, emetic, carbazone, diadoquine, chloroquine, erythromycin, tetracycline. These are the drugs generally used. That's enough. And mexaform intobates are also commonly used. And we should practice hygienic habits. That is about the entaeba. And then Trypanosoma gambiense. So this is another protozoan parasite. It is a flagellate. That means it contains a flagellum. Okay, it is a hemoflagellate parasite. That means it resides in the blood of the host, particularly the vertebrates. Okay, in human or in vertebrates, it causes African sleeping sickness called Gambia fever. Okay, so anyway, let's see about Trypanosoma gambiense. So this is the trypanosoma. Okay, it is elongated spindle shaped structure. Okay, and here this is the pellicle that covers the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is divided into ectoplasm and endoplasm. In the middle of the cytoplasm, there is a vesicular or vesicle-like nucleus is seen. Okay, so here this is called kinetoplast, and below that there is a basal granule from which a long, uh, mm, flagellum is generated. So while traveling through the body, this flagellum, it forms an undulating membrane, and in the anterior, this is actually anterior region. In the anterior region, the free flagellum is seen. So this is general structure. There is not much important thing, and some reserved food materials like glycogen granules are seen in the cytoplasm. Anyway, Trypanosoma gambiense causes the fatal form of African sleeping sickness, which is very, very dangerous. Uh, anyway, so it is also known as Gambia fever or Gambian trypanosomiasis. You can also call it as Gambian fever or Gambian trypanosomiasis. It is an intercellular parasite. Intercellular parasite means simply, for example, this is a cell, this is another cell in a tissue, this is another cell in tissue. Okay, so if the parasite lives in between these cells, that is called intercellular parasite. So it lives in human blood plasma and lymph and lymph tissue. You remember that. That's why, as it lives in the human blood plasma, it is also known as hemoflagellate. Flagellate అంటే flagella ఉన్న అని అంటాం. ఎనీవే, సో హ్యూమన్ బ్లడ్లో లింఫ్ టిష్యూస్లో ఇది రిసైడ్ అవుతుంది కాబట్టి, as it lives as a parasite, it is called as, you know, the intercellular parasite and hemoflagellate parasite. It is confined to Central and West African, particularly in Nigeria and Congo, and it is a digenetic parasite. That means there are two hosts are present. Primary host is man, and secondary host or vector is very, very important. It was asked in many examinations of zoology many times. CC fly. Its scientific name is also, you should remember, Glossina palpalis. So this question was asked almost 10 times in different kinds of zoological entrance examinations. Okay, so what is the intermediate host or vector for or secondary host of the Trypanosoma gambiense is CC fly or Glossina palpalis. Its reservoir host is also present. Antelope, a kind of deer, some buffaloes and redbucks and pigs. These are considered as reservoir hosts. Anyway, CC flies feeds upon the blood of man as well as the reservoir host. Okay, so this CC fly is just like, what we call the housefly like fly, but it bites human being. It sucks the blood of man. Also, it can also depend on these reservoir hosts. Anyway, Trypanosoma gambiense was first observed by Ford, and Sir David Bruce discovered that sleeping sickness is transmitted by CC fly. This is CC fly, almost similar to the housefly like structure. Yeah, we have seen morphology, known it, and it is generally seen in different forms. So this is Leishmanian form, and this is leptomonad form. Okay, and this is criteria form. Okay, so this is trypanosome form. It is a polymorphic parasite. Uh, so basic important forms are trypanosome form, which we have seen the main diagram. So, and the criteria form, so it is seen only in CC fly. Anyway, we don't need to study the life cycle. So anyway, the yeah, nucleus contain nucleolus, contractile vacuole is absent. The setup the reserved food material is called valutin granules. Okay, so nutrition is by saprozoic. I have explained what is saprozoic. Pathogenesis. Trypanosoma causes the disease called trypanosomiasis. You can also call it as Gambia fever, or you can also call it as African sleeping sickness. Anyway, the symptoms are anemia, headache, swelling of cervical lymph glands, changes in spleen due to fever. When it reaches, ఎప్పుడైతే these trypanosome parasite stages, when they reach the cerebrospinal fluid of human being, so due to Gambia fever, okay, so that causes African sleeping sickness. So the person always in sleep. Sleeping sickness వల్ల person always in sleep. Okay. So anyway, yeah. So treatment where 205 pentamidine, lomidine drugs are generally used for the treatment, and the arsenic antimony drugs like arsamine, milacin oxide also can be used. That is about trypanosoma gambiense. And then, yeah, leishmania. It is also similar to trypanosoma anyway. So Leishmania donovani is also hemoflagellate parasite. In man, it resides in lymphoid tissues, particularly in the spleen, liver, bone marrow, and intestinal region, where the lymph nodes are present. Okay, where the what we call the immunological tissues are present. They are called reticuloendothelial cells. Mostly they are macrophages. Anyway, so in man, the intracellular parasite occurs as leishmanial forms. ఇందాక నేను చూపించినట్టుగా సో leishmania form అనేది so this one A without any the flagella. Anyway, yeah, we don't need all these. We can directly go to the pathogenesis. So primary host of the leishmania is human being. Secondary host is female sandfly. Don't be confused between CC fly and sandfly. Leishmania donovani యొక్క vector ఏంటి? Secondary host ఏంటి? Sandfly. Its scientific name is Plebotomus argentipes. Okay, you should remember this. This was also asked many times, and many people still confuse between sandfly and CC fly, Glossina palpalis and Plebotomus argentipes. Anyway, so disease caused by Leishmania donovani is called Kala Azar disease or visceral leishmaniasis. So these are the symptoms: prolonged intermittent fever, weight loss, hepatosplenomegaly, enlarged liver and spleen, anemia, skin rashes due to black fever, and weakness and fatigue. So common drugs are amphotericin B, okay, and meltifosine, okay, sodium, stibugluconate, and paramomycin. These are the commonly used drugs for the treatment of leishmaniasis. And there is another species of leishmania called Leishmania tropica. Its primary host is human. Secondary host is also sandfly. but it is a different species. Phlebotomus argentypis was the secondary host of the Donovani. Phlebotomus sargentii is the secondary host of the, uh, you know, Leishmania tropica. Okay, now we are seeing about the Leishmania tropica, its pathogenesis. Uh, Leishmania tropica causes cutaneous leishmaniasis. Okay, it is also known as oriental sores and it is also known as Delhi boils. You should remember. You should remember these names. Symptoms: localized skin lesions or ulcers. Skin paina ulcers, lesions and form of the, okay, some papules that become nodules or ulcers like martha. Lesions may crust and scar are often painless, mostly self-healing, but may take months. Anyway, so these are the drugs. Miltefosine, same SSG, sodium stibugluconate, paromomycin, and amphotericin B, azole, antifungals. So these are the common drugs. And finally, the last parasite is Giardia intestinalis. So its common name is grand old man of intestine. If you observe the structure, the only protozoan that exhibits the bilateral symmetry. ఓకే, ఎగ్జాక్ట్ గా రెండుగా లాంజిట్యూడినల్ ప్లేన్ లో మనం రెండు ఈక్వల్ హాఫ్స్ గా మనం డివైడ్ చేయొచ్చు. సో దట్ ఈస్ జియార్డియా ఇంటెస్టైనాలిస్. ఇట్ ఈస్ అన్ ఇంటెస్టైనల్ పారాసైట్. ఓకే, సో ఇట్స్ కామన్ నేమ్ ఈస్ గ్రాండ్ ఓల్డ్ మ్యాన్ ఆఫ్ ఇంటెస్టైన్. యూ కెన్ జియార్డియా లాంబ్లియా ఈజ్ అనదర్ స్పీసీస్ దట్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో గ్రాండ్ ఓల్డ్ మ్యాన్ ఆఫ్ ఇంటెస్టైన్ అని మనం పిలవచ్చు. ఎనీవే, ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ బైన్యూక్లియోట్ nuclear. There are two nuclei are present which are equal in size. Okay, and there are four pairs of, what we call the flagella are present. That means 8 flagella are present, 2 nuclei are present. It is a binucleate organism. Anyway, so simply let's see its pathogenesis. Its primary host is human being. It may also infect another mammals like beavers, dogs, cattle, animals. Secondary host or vector is there is no secondary host. It is directly transmitted via fecal to oral route due to contamination అని చెప్పొచ్చు. సో అంటే దీనికి ఒకటే host. It is a monogenetic parasite. Human being is the main host. Okay, so when the infected person excretes undigested waste. So having these, stages of the what we call the giardia, so they are transmitted directly by, contaminated water or contaminated food material. The disease caused by the giardia is called giardiasis. So these are the symptoms: watery, greasy, foul-smelling diarrhea occurs, abdominal cramps and bloating, nausea, fatigue, weight loss, flatulence, and belching, malabsorption. All these are the symptoms, and these are the drugs: metronidazole, tinidazole, okay, nitazoxanide, and albendazole, paromomycin. All these are the commonly used drugs to treat, giardiasis. Okay, so let's stop here. From tomorrow onwards, let's go more fast. ఇంకా కొంచెం స్పీడ్గా వెళ్ళాలి. ఐఎమ్ ట్రయింగ్ టు రెడ్యూస్ ది మ్యాటర్ యాజ్ పాసిబుల్ యాజ్ ఐ కెన్. జస్ట్ వెయిట్.